Hi there, I'm Alex from Boldly. The ability to set clear development goals is essential to the perceived career success of any individual. Most of the successful people we know are goal-oriented. They know the skills, the knowledge, the attributes that they need to achieve to be able to fulfill their own personal and career development, and then they work back logically to make sure that they're achieving those milestones and that they're collecting those key experiences. It sounds really logical, but we all know in reality that it's incredibly hard to do. Goal setting itself is hard, but then also the ability to follow through, to keep the steam in the engine so that you actually achieve those goals is also incredibly difficult. So that's where you come in. Supervisor as coach, you are there to not only help your supervisee develop a really strong development goal, whether that's short, medium, or long term, you're also there to help them champion the delivery, the execution, and the success, the celebration when they actually achieve it. So in this video, Pauline's going to share with you a little bit more about what great development goals look like, and most importantly, your role as supervisor, how you're there as the accountability partner to support your supervisee.
Developmental goals are learning and competence oriented. They are distinct from business goals, for example, KPIs or financial performance. They spell out the occupational skills, knowledge, and experiences your supervisee has identified they need to either remain effective or take on new responsibilities to grow their career. Typical development goals related to intrapersonal are thoughts and beliefs the supervisee holds within themselves. Interpersonal relating to relationships and communication between the supervisee and colleagues, or work-related infrastructure objectives such as how the supervisee understands industry, strategy, or workplace politics. We can use some simple goal definition principles to ensure your GROW coaching model is aimed in the right direction. Your supervisee might have technical or functional goals. However, training or mentoring can typically be used to address that development. So let's dig into the more soft skills development that makes career steps.
For example, as you speak with your supervisee, you might be hearing themes about communication for their development goal. When you think about it yourself, communication is a meta skill. You know it includes listening, speaking, body language, word choice, tone, eye contact, and we could keep going and going. Something like communication is more complex than it might immediately seem. Asking questions like, can you explain more about what you mean by communication? When you hear your supervisee mention these things, it allows you to listen for the smaller units of the skill. You might reflect back to them. I'm hearing you say this issue is specifically related to how confident you feel writing business emails. Or if I'm understanding you correctly, you're great at face-to-face meetings, but you feel you're losing client rapport when you meet on Zoom. Is that right? Qualifying what you're hearing and seeking their agreement allows you to really package up the object of development to start with.
Now, think about other common presenting themes you might hear from your supervisee. They might say management skills, networking, project management, business development, building resilience, presenting to executives. The options are endless, but your job is the same. Think, how do I use questioning to help them peel back the onion here? You can only use your instinct to assess whether you're really at the heart of the issue, but it often takes 2 to 6 layers of questioning and peeling before you get there.
You know from the GROW model that you'll use the SMART goal setting process to define which of the options should be formed into an actionable way forward for this goal. We won't rehash SMART here, but in using that model, you need to know the typical actions your supervisee might take so that the development actually happens. You're listening for SMART goals that involve behaviors, actions, and experiences, followed up by a period of reflection and then rinse and repeat. This is because adult learning is life-centered. It is learning by doing, by application and experience, and if needs be, by trial and error. Once an adult has those hands-on experiences, they can reflect and interpret ideas, skills, and knowledge to grow their awareness, connect dots, and continuously refine and improve their skill.
The goal of coaching, remember, is to make your supervisee resourceful and sustainable for themselves. So by guiding their SMART goals to have experiences, followed by reflection, you're building a self-reliant individual. A great SMART development goal might sound like, I'm going to ask permission from my client to record my next 3 Zoom meetings so I can watch them back and take notes on what worked and what didn't for rapport building. I'll do this by next week, so when I can discuss the themes I saw with you, boss, in our next meeting. Notice the experience is to watch back and take notes from the recordings. And the reflection comes from seeing themes in the notes and bubbling them back to you as the accountability partner.
I think you can see that development goals are deceptively hard. You not only need to be able to question and probe while you're in the flow of that conversation, you need to be able to understand as the supervisor which elements of the development goal need strengthening, where should you be questioning more, where should you be, encouraging a bit more accountability. As the supervisor, as the coach, I find it's really valuable to be note-taking, to be recording what I'm hearing so that I can come back and make sure that I dig into those areas that need a little bit more reinforcement or a bit more fleshing out. When you feel that you have a really smart development goal, that it's strong in each of those areas of the SMART, make sure that it's really clearly documented, that it's shared between you and the supervisee, and that all of the milestones are recorded for follow-up. Don't just keep them on a piece of paper. Believe me, it never follows through. Use whatever technology you use as a hack, whether that's your Outlook, whether that's an Apple reminder, whether that is your performance management system. Make sure that that goal is documented and that you can actually follow through with the milestones. The ball is in your supervisee's court. They have the most to gain from following through on these, but again, you're there as the supervisor and the accountability partner. So if it was worth setting the development goal, it's definitely worth following it through. Now, one thing that we recommend you do is to actually reflect as supervisor on your own development goals. It's easy to look at your supervisee and see where they're falling off, where they're falling short in executing the goals. But actually, when you think about your own career goals, it gives you a perspective on what's difficult, what's hard, what's easy to follow through with. So have a think about, do you have career development goals? What have you found easy? What have you found hard? Are yours documented? Do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a trusted advisor who you're speaking to about your delivery and your execution? It's one thing for us to recommend this for our supervisee, but your lived experience of doing some career planning will actually make you a better coach for your supervisee. And of course, you benefit personally as well.